Thanks for coming to today's Advanced Features webinar. We'll get started in here in just a moment. Okay, thanks again everybody for coming. A couple of people are trickling in, but we're going to kind of get started. Today's webinar, we're going to cover some of the advanced features that come with the marketing plan and the contact center plan. Most of the things you get with the marketing plan, marketing contact center plans are very similar. Contact center plan has additional bells and whistles, but a lot of things we're going to cover go across both platforms. When we talk about some of the details within the contact center plan, maybe you'll learn something, maybe it'll be something to make you take a look and see, maybe the contact center is a good idea for us. So again, this is kind of give you that 50,000 foot view of the product. We're not going to take a real deep dive into any certain things. Again, it's just to give you a sense of these are some of the things that you have at your disposal, give you some insight. Excuse me. If you are new to call tracking metrics, check out our workshops. Off of the help menu to the online support center, we have links to workshops where we do a week-long comprehensive course on all the different features within the platform. We also do webinars on a regular basis. If you're new to the platform, we have an entry-level webinar that kind of shows you the basics of what you want to know about what everything is, how to kind of get started. We have a Google guru on staff. She does a webinar on a regular basis about analytics, attribution, the sharing relationship between call tracking metrics and Google. We offer lots of things all the time. We want to keep our customers up to date on all the different features that they have at their disposal and also give you all a chance and opportunity to learn a little bit more. You have a lot of powerful tools at your disposal with this product, and there are a lot of moving parts. You'll never know every single aspect, so don't get discouraged. I've been doing this for close to 3 years, and I'm still learning something new every day. Like I said, there's a lot of moving parts, so take your time, don't get frustrated. We have an outstanding support team. They're here to help you get over hurdles as you're going through our platform. Call tracking metrics largely is what we call sometimes self-service or a la carte. We can keep our prices really low, but we give you all the tools to build these things out yourself. Now, we do have other options. We have implementation support. Let's say you've already got something spun up. You need to add some additional things to it. We can do that for you. We also just launched something called a fast track plan, where let's say you're a new customer to our platform, you don't have the time, the knowledge, or the bandwidth to do this. You can hire us and we'll build it out for you based on what it is you need out of this platform. And that way, at the back end of this thing, we'll build it, we'll give you some training. You have a turnkey solution. So when you're ready to go, this platform's ready for you. So I'm going to go through these things, not in any particular order. Well, I say that, but off the menu, we'll start with the numbers menu. We'll go through these. I'm kind of going to go along with the way they spill down on the menu. There's no real, preferred method for doing this because so many of the options that you have at your disposal, you can change how you route things, how you set things up. Things can route in all kinds of different directions to and from certain features. So the idea is just to kind of go through the menu as we have them stacked there and just give you a sense of these are what are available to you. This is basically how a lot of these things work. So the flow of this isn't based on, these are the steps you need to go through to get it done. Legal information, got to put this up there. We do everything in our power to make sure everything is current and accurate. And that statement says that right there. Of course, requirements, you're logged in, you're good to go right there. Again, if you're new to the product, check out some of our the webinars that we have. We have a calendar off of the help menu that shows you what all the workshops, all the webinars are. If you're new to the product, maybe take a look at the new to CTM webinar. My colleague Nicole gives a great webinar on the basics, how to buy numbers, how to set up your call routing, how to set up an integration, things like that. So again, these are some of the things we're going to touch on. I will do my best to cover everything. I have found after going through this many times, I try and squeeze everything I can in an hour, and sometimes towards the end, I try and get the last things in there, so I might rush through at the back end. But we are going to cover the things that I think are the most important for you to understand about what you have at your disposal. This is me. I am not related to Kevin Bacon. I have been here for a little over 3 years. At the beginning, I said I've been doing this for close to 3 years. There was a ramp up period, training period, trying to get my footing here. So about 3 years. And as I said earlier, there's a lot of moving parts. You can't know everything this platform does. I've been doing it for a long time. I still don't know everything it does. I learn something new every day. So on that one, let's get started. So I typically like to start with the call log, because this is where everything comes together, the meat and potatoes. Everything you do building out this platform pretty much comes together right here. And this is the call log itself is covered by my associate Nicole's onboarding webinar for those new customers. But this really is, we call it the call log. A lot of people refer to the dashboard, but the building out of your menus, the call routing, any tagging, things like that you're going to do. This is really where it all comes together. This is that view that you have when calls start coming in. So off the numbers menu here, like I mentioned before, I'm going to go through them kind of as you see them here, because again, there's no real set way of what you need to do. Of course, when you construct something, there are small tidbits you want to do first, but this is just kind of give you, again, that sense of these are the things that you have at your disposal. Smart routers, queues, Geo routers, auto dialers, form reactors, all that good stuff. So we are going to start over the smart router section right here. These are all basic, as you're new, all of these things, if you've been in the platform for a while now, you understand what all of these things are right here. But for the higher level things, the more things you have at your disposal, we're going to start with the smart router right here. Smart routers are great because you can build them to, for lack of a better description, to kind of execute really complicated routing based on specific pieces of a caller's information. Certain crawl criteria has to be met in order to send it through a smart router. Whether it's a repeat caller, maybe it's their location, maybe it's their caller ID. A smart router can sit in front of the routing where a caller might come in. You can set up a smart router. If a call meets certain criteria, send it to point A. If it meets a different type of criteria, send it to point B, C, or D. Smart router can help facilitate that. Two examples that I have right here, I have a new versus repeat caller and also a gender-based routing. So the first one we'll take a look at is new versus repeat call routing. And this is a kind of, it's a very simple, basic example, but it gives you a sense of this is what it can do. So with this particular smart router, what we're doing here, first of all, you start by choosing add route. And when you do that, all these fields are going to open up to you. So under this first section right here, what we're telling the smart router to do, hey, if this is a first-time caller and we don't recognize that phone number, they've never called in before and it's not living in our call log, first-time contact is yes. We don't know who they are. So in this particular instance, we're telling the system, hey, if we've never heard from you before, go ahead and send this phone call over to this call queue where these people can help out this new caller. From this dropdown, you have all these different dimensions for how you might want to route this phone call. Send to a voice menu, to a specific phone number, maybe over to a Geo router, maybe even another smart router. A lot of flexibility for how you might want to route this phone call. This example, we're simply sending the caller into a call queue where they can talk with a brand new customer. The other part of the router is saying, hey, if they've called in, is it a first-time contact? Nope, we've heard from them before. Send them to this different queue. The use case behind this is, let's say you're working in a call center or maybe you're a rehab facility or something like that. Somebody's calling in, they need to get some help. They have to go through an induction process. They have to go through, get signed up, answer a bunch of questions. So there's a separate team that will handle that to kind of bring them into the fold. They call back for, they need further assistance. They've already gone through that process, and we recognize that they've called in before. So instead of sending over to that team to bring them in, send them over to the team that can help them. So that's a good use case for that. The other smart router, using a rehab center as an example right here, is gender-based routing. And I work with a couple of customers that their facility is either all female or all male. And this smart router came into the equation for them because they wanted to route phone calls based on their gender. Now, keep in mind, with gender-based routing, there is an enhanced caller ID piece that needs to be added to it. We work with a third party, and it's pretty amazing what you can collect about a person based on their phone number. It's pretty accurate. It's not perfect, but it's pretty darn accurate. So in this instance, this example would be, this one was for a facility, and they wanted to separate male customers to the female customers. We turn on the enhanced caller ID based on that phone number, which comes in really quick. As soon as that call comes in, we query that database, comes in, pops the call log, and then you'll know whether it's a male or female. This example is saying, hey, if it's a female, I want you to send the phone calls to this particular person. Same idea, you have all these options for how you might want to route that phone call. So if you're male, send them over to my team led by Larry Tate. If it's a female, I want you to take this caller and just send it over to this phone number where that facility can help that person. So just, again, simple examples. These are some of the things the smart router can do for you. There's a whole lot more behind it. This is just to give you a sense of how that smart router can work for you. Excuse me. Voice menus, IVRs, that is part of any package. Whether you are a business plan or a contact center plan, everybody has a voice menu, so I'm going to kind of gloss over that. The voice menu idea, you can point a call, tracking number can point straight to that IVR. Press 1 for this, press 2 for that, press 3 for the other thing. Think about, you ever call for tech support, press 1 for PC support, press 2 for Mac support, press 3 for everything else. That's what a voice menu can do for you. It's similar in that you have options for how you want to route that phone call based on a key press. That is something that my colleague touches on the other webinar for new customers. Queues, call queues. Queues are a great way to route calls if you have multiple agents. Call setting environment, again, kind of going back to technology thing. Press 1 for this, press 2 for that. Well, you might press 1 for PC support, and that call then routes over to a team of people that are there fielding your phone calls. The queue, that's a great purpose for these queues. You can have teams of people in there fielding these phone calls. We'll take a look at this queue right here. So again, think about your call, call for tech support, press 1, you're going to go to PC support. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people sitting there waiting to field your phone calls and help you out here. They live in a call queue. That's exactly what this thing does right here. You come into the queue, and you have a lot of different options for how you might want to handle those callers when they come in. Distribute to agents. Simultaneous means we're going to ring all your agents at the same time. Whoever gets that phone call gets that phone call. You can do round robin. We're going to load balance those phone calls to make sure all of your agents have this opportunity to field the same number of phone calls on a daily basis. The longest way, you can rotate, as it says right there, between agent based on the time the agent has been waiting for a call. Most people, in my experience has been, most people are either going to use simultaneous or round robin. Simultaneous, you can take that a step further. We'll take a look at that in just a moment here. But again, simultaneous, everybody's phone rings at the same time. Whoever gets a call gets a call. Round robin, we're going to try and load balance that call between all your agents so there's an even distribution between all the people in the call center. Routing for repeat callers. Somebody calls in. 9 times out of 10, I see people, any agent, just answer the phone, take care of the customer. Same agent first. What we're trying to say here is, Tony calls in. Tony already spoke to Sue about something. Sue's aware of the problem. So Tony calls back. We're going to try and call Sue first. Sue's not available. Then we're going to put it back in the pool and we're going to send it to any agent that can pick up that call. If you go to the same agent only, Tony calls in, Sue's the only one that knows how to help him, we'll send that call to Sue. And if Sue can't answer that phone call, we can send that phone call into her voicemail so Tony can leave a message and Sue can call him back. So you have a lot of power for how you might want to deal with repeat callers coming in. A lot of the presets here, very standard. Most people don't tweak these very much at all. You know, we're telling the system, hey, we're giving every agent 18 seconds to answer the phone call. The toggles are pretty self-explanatory. Now, when I was talking about the simultaneous ringing, ring all your agents at the same time. You have an option also called Edit Agent Routing Rules. And when we drill down into here, you can apply weights to your agents. And I don't mean the amount of time somebody's waiting for somebody to answer a phone call. Weight as in how heavy is something. And now I only have 2 agents in this queue right now, but you know, a lot of places are going to have 20, 30, 40 people sitting in a call queue. This number right here, this weight, what this represents is Larry Tate, 10 being the heaviest, it holds the most weight. If you apply weights to your agents, we're going to try those agents first because, you know, maybe they're the agents that you have in a call center that you know you can rely on. In this case, you know, we know Larry Tate's money. He can always take these phone calls and take care of the customer right away. And these weights can go, you know, from 10 down to 1. 10 holds the most weight, down to 1, meaning, you know, we're going to start at 10. We'll work our way down until we find somebody that, you know, weight-wise, who can handle this caller. If you don't apply weight, these don't come with weights. You have to apply weight to it. So we'll try Larry. If we can't get Larry, then we're going to try Major Nelson. Any other user that lives in here, you know, we're going to always try Larry first, but then we'll ping every other agent at the same time to try and see who can answer that phone call. So weighting is great because, again, if you have somebody that you know can deal with something, or maybe for training purposes, you want to give that person, put them in the front of the calls so, you know, they get up to speed really quick. So weighting is there. It's a great way to be able to route phone calls to particular agents. And again, weighting only works using the simultaneous ringing option. A couple other things I want to take a look at in here. Again, a lot of these are very standard toggles. The descriptions for what the queue can do are all right there. The other piece for the queues right here is the no answer routing. Somebody calls in, all your agents are busy. What do you want us to do with that call? You know, you can send it over to a different, like a failover queue. You could even put them back in this queue at the top and they can just keep going around and around until an agent finally frees up to answer that phone call. All these dimensions, how do you want us to route the phone call? Send them to voicemail, send them to a smart router. Dial a specific number, go to another queue. This is great so you don't lose a customer. You can always just put them in the queue until somebody's around to grab that phone call, send them to voicemail, all that good stuff. Post-call surveys, whether it is the agent or the customer that calls in, you can route them over to an IVR where they can do a survey. Hey, how was our service? Press 1, great. Press 2, not so good. Same thing for your agents. Hey, how did that call go? Did you make a sale? It's a place to be able to forward information after a phone call has ended. When or if you are building out these call queues, a good rule of thumb is create all of your agents first. All the users that are going to live in this platform, create them first. That way, after you build out the call queue, you come into your edit assigned agents, everybody's sitting there waiting to be added to this phone queue. It's that simple. Save changes. Now you have 5 agents sitting in this call queue. The assigned tracking numbers, that's really nothing more than, if you're tracking number, if you just want to point them straight into this call queue, go for it. But, you know, you can send that tracking number to an IVR where they do a key selection. Send them through a smart router so you can route them based on, you know, have I talked to them before? What part of the country are they in? What language do they speak? All that kind of good stuff. Okay, so let's go back up here. Schedules, every account has them. Keep in mind, if you do use schedules, they can be put all over the platform. IVRs, queues, smart routers, pretty much anywhere, tracking numbers. If you apply a schedule to a user, that will take precedence over any other queue. Sue has a schedule tied to her account and she works in a call queue, but the queue has a different queue. Sue's schedule will overrule that schedule in the queue. Sue's schedule will overrule every single schedule you built out. So if you keep schedules, you're having users, keep in mind, user schedules, top of the heap. Geo routers. Geo routers. Geo routers are pretty cool because you can route phone calls based on the caller's location. You can do it by zip code, by area code, or even the IP address of their last session. Doing it this way is pretty cool because it allows us to throw up a tracking number based on their location. Let's take a look here. So I have 3 examples up right now. Zip code, area code, and based on the IP information. Route by zip code, we'll take a look at this one right here. You can do silent routes. We use a technology tied to, was it MPX? Where is that? MPA NXX. I don't know the voodoo behind it, but I know that it works. That's for a silent route. If you do it based on zip code, to really make sure you can push somebody to a specific geographic location, I like the idea of when they come into a geo router, you can prompt them and tell you, hey, put in your 5-digit zip code. And when they do that, we can route that phone call to a location closest to their zip code. You can also do it based on an area code. The area code largely could be a silent route because we're looking at the area code of the caller, and then we're going to route that phone call to a geographic location close to or identical to that area code. The one thing that I like to point out, or the caveat to the area code, the silent route of an area code is, in this day and age with cell phones, people travel all over, they move all over the country, and they keep that area code. It's completely commonplace these days. I moved from Northern California out here to Maryland, which is where Call Tracking Metrics is based. And for years, I had a 415 area code. The issue with that when you use a geo router and doing a silent route is, my area code where I live is 443, but my area code on my phone is 415. So if I were to use Geo Router, it's going to try and send my call out to California, but that's not where I live. So, for the most part, it works great. But again, people move, they take their cell phone. So just keep that in mind if you want to do a silent route based on an area code. Coming back to the zip code example right here, they come into the Geo Router. You can leave a custom message right here. Thanks for calling. Please enter your zip code. And we'll prompt them however many times as you want. When you come down to this section, under the locations, you have to upload or manually enter the postal zip codes that are going to be tied to a receiving number. So you want to make sure the receiving number lives here under numbers, receiving numbers. Get those receiving numbers in the system first, because then when you build the Geo Router, in this example, again, you come in, I'm going to enter my 5-digit zip code, 99203. Any one of these 5, I put that in here. I'm going to route to a business in Spokane, Washington. Because of the area code right here ties to the zip code, I'm going to send it to the business location there. Or this area, this example here in the great state of Maryland. Any one of these zip codes right here, let's send it to our Baltimore location. These zip codes, let's send it to our Chicago location. If somebody puts in a zip code that doesn't correspond with any of these phone numbers, then you can tell the system, hey, none of these match up. What do you want me to do with this caller? You tell the system right here, here's this example, I'm saying, just call my main office. My main office then will figure out where to route the phone call. But from this drop down, these are your other options. Hang up the call. Don't know why you'd want to do that. Maybe some people have a use case for it. Call this phone number, which is the example I have, or send them to a voice menu. Hey, press 1 for this, press 2 for that, or press 3 to leave us a voicemail. So you have options for doing that. Also, if you are sending a call to, let's say you have a franchise. Let's say you have a couple franchises in Spokane, Washington. someone puts in this area code right here and you have multiple receiving numbers, what we can do is also, kind of like with the call queue, we can ring all of those locations at one time, and whoever gets that phone call gets it. Ring them all at the same time, round robin. Try and load balance the phone calls between all the various franchise locations, or even sequentially. Start with this one, call this one, and then call this one. Rinse and repeat. Do it again, do it again, do it again. So there's a lot of, I love the Geo Router. It's a pretty powerful little tool that a lot of people aren't aware of. It's part of the marketing plan, part of the contact center plan. It's great for franchise locations. Okay, also under numbers, let's see what we got here. Auto dialers. This is plan specific. This is only part of the contact center plan. The example I have here is for an outbound dialing campaign. Depending on how big the business is, how many people you have on staff, you can have one call queue. Queues are very important for the auto dialers, first of all. You know, if you don't have a lot of inbound call traffic going on, you could use one call queue for inbound traffic and also for an auto dialer. The key with the auto dialer is an agent has to be available for us to start that calling process. So let's take a quick look right here. What I suggest to people is, you know, if you have an outbound dialing campaign, create a queue specific for just your outbound dialing. That way, you know, maybe you can assign 1 or 2 people to live in that queue, and we'll start firing off those phone calls. If you share a queue with inbound traffic too, you know, the auto dialer might be pausing here and there while an agent gets freed up from a phone call, inbound phone call. So, you know, depending on the nature of the business, how quickly you want to make these outbound phone calls, I suggest make an outbound queue, assign it to an auto dialer, and that way it's specific to this purpose. So when you load everything up, and we'll take a look at that at the bottom of this page, the current list. Once you upload all the phone numbers where you want to start firing off those phone calls, this is what that queue looks like. And we're going to start making these phone calls. We're going to call this number. When that's done, we're going to call this number and this number and this number and this number. We'll dial outbound as quickly as we have agents available to deal with that phone call. So we'll come down here. The mode, you have 2 options here, to dial the agent first or to dial the contact first. Little description over here on the right, you know, what do the different modes do? Dial the agent first, in my opinion, that makes the most sense. And again, it just depends on what everybody's business needs are. Everyone's a little bit different. So in this case, we're going to call the agent first. And what that means is we have to have an agent available, not on a phone call, not wrapping up a phone call. An agent has to be live and ready to go. And when we see that, we're going to go, okay, Tom's available. Start that first phone call. We're going to call Tom. We're going to get him on his soft phone. And then we're going to start making that outbound phone call to that first customer. The dial contact first, we're going to initiate that phone call. And we're going to start making that phone call. When it connects, then we're going to get an agent on the line. I don't know that I've come across somebody to use this. It's there for a reason, and maybe it's a very specific use case. My experience has been get the agent on the phone first, because that way, if they actually connect with somebody, that person on the receiving end is going to go, wait a minute, click, click, and then an agent comes on the phone. They might hang up long before that agent has a chance to say hello. Linking to a queue, it has to tie to a queue. And again, I created a specific queue for my outbound dialing campaign. You can even play, you know, a quick message that the customer, or excuse me, the agent's going to hear before that customer answers the phone call. Just kind of give them a quick heads up. Hey, we're making that connection. Make sure you're ready. Outbound caller ID. If you're targeting maybe a specific region, get tracking numbers that correspond with the areas you're targeting, because we can match up a tracking number to that recipient's phone number. So when that phone call comes in, let's say I'm in the 619 area code, I want to use a 619 tracking number. So when that call comes through, it's a local call coming through. People are going to be a little more inclined to pick up that phone call if it looks local. Time controls. If you only have a let's say you have a campaign in the 4 different time zones, you can tell the system, I only want you to call the East Coast between 9 and 5, period. After it's 5 o'clock, dialer's not going to make any calls. But you're in the central time zone. Same idea. We can shift the 9 to 5 to every time zone. And once it gets out to Pacific time after 5 p.m., boom, we're done. Schedules, talked about that a little bit earlier. You can apply them to a dialer right here. Other little bells and whistles that you have at your disposal right here. The frequency, how often do you want us to try and call them back? You can set up multiple layers. Didn't get you the first time, I want you to wait 5 minutes. Maybe you want to add another one, wait another 30 minutes, wait a day before you call them back. And in that last attempt, you can't get a hold of them, you can tell the system, hey, fire off a text message to this phone number, let them know. You can put in a custom, hey, sorry we weren't able to call you, get in touch with you. I know you want to talk, here's a link to my calendar. That'll show up on their phone. So it's a nice way to follow up. Couldn't get a hold of them, fire off a quick text message. There you go. For all the people you might want to be reaching out to, you can, you can manually enter numbers if you want to. Whoops, excuse me here. The most efficient way really to do that is to get a CSV file, upload it, and then it's in there. It's ready to go. If you have to manually, let's say you have a small campaign, you don't want to go through the, the hoops of setting up your CSV file, uploading all that. Or if you have an intern that needs something to do, they can manually add that information right there. First phone number, next line. Next phone number, next line. Just like that. Pretty straightforward stuff. Okay. Form reactors. You go to a landing page, 9 times out of 10, you're going to probably come across something that says, hey, we're glad you came by. Give us your name, give us your phone number, give us your email address, any comments that you might have, and we'll be in touch with you shortly. We have a form reactor built into our platform. We do interface with Unbounce, Contact Form 7, Gravity Forms, a whole bunch of them, but we do also have a form reactor built into our platform. Let's take a quick look right here. All the fields, everything's built in. Of course, you got to give it a name. Anything you want to put in the header shows up right here. And as you build these things out, again, we have a lot of these fields. You can change the naming conventions to whatever you want. And then you'll see here. There. So you can modify this, as it fits your needs. As you build it out and you save changes, this that you see right here for this form, it's a working form. So whatever you do when you're building this thing out, test it. Whatever you put in here is going to end up in the call log, just like an actual form that lives on your website. So if we come down here, again, most of the fields are already defined. How often do you want to give somebody the opportunity to submit this form? Hey, there's some fields in this form that I need, but you haven't provided for me. You can create additional fields through our custom fields. Right here, you click on this custom field button, excuse me, and you can add whatever you want to this form. Because like in this one right here, whoops, let me go back. Forgive me here. There we go. I wanted to create a form that had certain time slots. So I created a custom form, or excuse me, a custom field. I gave it the label that I wanted. Here are the different ways that you can create the fields that you want. A picker, a website, a choice list. This is not native to the application, but here it is. Here's that form. This is my custom field right here. I added an additional field, so it would be on my form. Anything you do in custom fields, if you are using Salesforce, custom fields can be, you can take the data from your custom fields and map it into Salesforce. Custom styles, you got all that information right here. If you're using any CSS, you can integrate that here as well. There's another nice little feature that's built in. Did we move that little button? Or is it just my line? Okay. Oh, and also, by the by, form reactors have to be tied to a tracking number. So depending on if you're doing a lot of business with your form reactors or expect to, you might consider getting a tracking number just for your forms. I like the idea of that because it keeps that data separate from your calls or from your texts. You can also you can use the form reactor almost like an auto dialer, a mini auto dialer. So when somebody submits a form, let's see here, where did we go? Oh, log form entries only, it'll just show up in the call log. But if you do dial the agent, somebody submits a form, as long as their phone number, and if it's a required field, their phone number lives on there, you can tell the system, hey, when somebody submits this form, I want you to call the customer right away saying, hey, so that way you can reach right out as soon as they submit that form or give it a delay of 5, 10, 15 minutes. Hey, you submitted the form. I just wanted to reach out and let you know we've got the answers to A, B, and C. So you can almost use it like a mini auto dialer. And once you've built this entire thing out, here at the bottom of the screen using Form Reactor, that's all the code that you need. It works as an iframe. So if you put this into your code, the whole form doesn't live there. It's an iframe that's going to point back to call tracking metrics to this form that you've created. Okay. Excuse me for just a moment. Sorry about that. I had a sneeze attack and I didn't want to sneeze in your ear. A couple other things that we want to take a look at here. Under settings, we have access control groups. This is a handy little feature. Let's say you have a call center, or let's say you have sub-accounts. You're an agency and you have sub-accounts, and the customer that you are managing an account for, they want to be able to log in and take a look at the calls that are coming through, but you don't necessarily want them to see everything in that call log. Access control group allows you to change the way the call log looks, so you can only reveal the information that you want them to see. What you see right here, the log column access. This is your call log hidden behind here. There are all these various checkboxes, and as you start to go through them, we are going to start to reveal the fields. And this is a great way also, like I said, you might have a sub account. They want to log in and take a look at the calls that are coming through. They're paying you, they want to see what's going on, but you don't want to give away the farm. All of these checkboxes allow you to hide or reveal certain fields in the call log. Maybe they don't need to see session data. They don't need to see any flag icons or listen to the call recordings. Access control groups really help you limit what somebody can and cannot see in the call log. The access control group is only available to the users, call agents. Call agent means they can only see their phone calls. Call manager and call report manager, again, call agent, call manager, report manager. Only those three accounts can live in an access control group. Call agent, just to touch on that real quick, call agent sits in a call queue. They can only see their phone calls, nobody else's. Call manager, they can see anything that you want them to see in a call log. They can see every single phone call that comes through. Report manager, they can see the call log and they can get to a few select reports. None of those roles have any authority to manage the account in any way, shape, or form. So just FYI, if you want to use an access control group, only 3 types of user counts will work. Teams, phone settings, contact center specific. You work in a call center, you have all your agents sitting in call queues. The phone settings allow you to set, particularly the soft phone, for the feature sets that your agents have when they're using the soft phone. Everything, all your agents see the same kind of information. Basically, they're all on the same page. The features that I like the most about the team settings, and you don't have to use team settings. Keep in mind, you don't have to use that. This is for very granular very specific call setting kind of environments. What do you want your agents to see on that soft phone? Do you want them to see all of these options for transferring phone calls? How they might want to be able to handle those phone calls. What I like most about the team settings, again, there's all kinds of options that you do have, including a wrap-up panel. Your agent finished, and I mentioned that earlier. You got that wrap-up panel, your agent's done, adding the notes to the call before they go on to the next one. The wrap-up panel information lives here. And again, for the third time now, what I like a lot about the team setting is the management of the calls. You have a live listen option, which means in the call log, there'll be a little button that says live, and you can click on that or listen. You can click on it, and the caller and the agent, they don't know that you're listening to the phone call. It's great for training purposes. It's great for managing, perhaps you have some new agents. It's a great way to just find out, hey, how are my agents doing? If you want to give your agents access to the call recordings, you have that option right here. And from these drop downs, just managers, no one, or anyone, you have those options all the way down here. The barging option, you have a call agent, the call's not going too well. Well, the manager can insert themselves into the conversation to basically take over control of that phone call. The coaching and whisper option, the manager can give the call agent certain thoughts and ideas about how to better handle the call that's going through. They can force a hang up, or they can just change, who's the agent. Nope, this call isn't going very good for Tom. Give it to Sue. Just hand it right over. The barging is a really helpful one because that manager can hop right in and go, you know what, I'm going to step in here and take care of this phone call. This is my favorite feature of the team settings. Custom fields, custom fields, custom fields. So there's a few different options that you have for your custom fields. Again, it's a very powerful tool. It allows you to add content to the call tracking metrics application that isn't normally there. So in this example right here for the contact, this is a very simple example. So what this relates to is, here's my label, who answered the phone, and I gave the list of 3 agents through a picker, Sally, Susan, and June. Well, here in the call log, if we come over to the call log and you drill down into a phone call, we'll go to Willie Mays right here. We go to the contact, who answered the phone? And you can apply that person. And this is just, a very basic example to show you these are some of the things that you have at your disposal. Our next example here in the custom fields, scoring. If you want to add a custom panel to the scoring column, good prospect. Again, same idea with the picker. Let me see if I can't just call this up right here. There we go, second example. In the call log, you have the scoring option. This is where reporting tag, score call, and converted are all standard within the scoring, but I added another one called good prospect, yes or no. That way you can use this for reporting purposes after a phone call. You can add this to your report saying good prospect, yes or no. Hey, we might want to call these guys back, or don't even bother. That lives right here under the score. Now another one would be adding a custom panel altogether, department. Because if we look at the call log right here, let me close this. Scoring is a standard column. It just comes with every single package. Department is something unique that I created. I needed additional information to be added to the calls that are coming through. And again, very simple, very basic, watered down example, but here's my separate panel based on the department. Who did they call in for? They called for the engineering department. Save changes, and there it is. That's how it's going to appear right here. All this information can be exported. Doesn't have to just live here. If you're using Zapier to send Zap somewhere else, all of these fields you can take out of CTM, send anywhere, even through our Open API library. Anything we have in here, you can export out of the platform. Triggers. We're going to come down here, go to calls, and we go to triggers. Triggers help automate the process. Let's say certain actions happen, certain conditions are met for that phone call. Triggers can automate a lot of the process for you. A good example I have is for sending calls into Google Analytics. So what I'm telling here with the system is, my label is for calls that are over 30 seconds. Only if a phone call is 30 seconds or longer do I want you to send information into Google Analytics. And I'm telling the system right here, only initiate this trigger after the phone call has completed, which makes sense in this example because we're sending information into analytics. Trigger for all activities means every single phone number this applies to. If this is not on, you can apply it just to specific tracking numbers. So you can get very granular, very specific about what you might want to send in. And the workflow for this, because the label is over 30 seconds. So we created a workflow. Up here in the upper right-hand corner, add workflow. And we're telling the system, we clicked on add rule, which you'll see. And the first condition was if, whoops, I don't want those. I want to add a separate workflow. What that looks like when you do that is this right here. Blank slate. Do whatever you want to create this trigger. But in this example that we have right here, the talk time of my conversation has to be equal to or greater than 30 seconds. And what we're telling the system here is, based on that information, and if you're not aware, calls go into analytics as events, and the category is calls. That's what we're telling the system right here. A lot of these are already going to be predefined. So this is a great way to automate that process. You can do a lot of this in analytics. You can tell analytics, hey, only, if you have any goals set up, I only want you to start to apply things if it's over 30 seconds. This helps cut some of that extra legwork that you might have to do in the analytics side. Triggers are very powerful things. They tag phone calls, they automate a lot of the processes. The best way I can tell you to use triggers is go in and just fiddle with it. It'll start to make a little more sense. So a couple other things to touch on real quick here, because I know we're running short on time. Under settings, you have, if you're an agency, whether you're marketing or contact center, you have the ability to create as many sub-accounts as you want. There is no cost difference to you. Really, the only cost difference is you're going to need tracking numbers for each one of your sub-accounts, and you're going to pay for the minutes or text messages for those sub-accounts. Sub-accounts, you can have as many as you want. To spin up a sub-account, it's as simple as going to Settings, Accounts. These are all of the sub-accounts that live under my mock agency. When you want to create a new one, you click on New Account in the upper right-hand corner. Put in the name of that sub-account, whatever you want to call it. By default, we're going to do agency shared billing, and that means we are going to bill you, you're going to bill your customer. If you want to do customer billing, you can always invite the client to enter payment details, and we can fire off a secure email over to that user. I mean, if you have the card-to-card information, you can spin that up, no problem at all. Otherwise, you can fire off an email to your end user. They can put in the name of the, put in their credit card information, send it back. So any charges would be applied to their credit card for their sub-account. The only thing in that case you're responsible for is your monthly subscription fee. 9 times out of 10, people are going to use the agency shared billing. It's really that easy to set it up. Put the customer name in, get started. Your first sub-account is created. Go by your numbers, figure out your call routing, figure out your tracking sources. Do your separate integrations at that point. We have 2 different white labeling options. There is a partial white label and a full white label. Partial white label means you can put your logo up here. You can replace call tracking metrics with your logo. But anytime you send correspondence out, billing, reporting, anything like that, it's going to be from call tracking metrics. We also have a full white label. And what that means is we're going to mask everything call tracking metrics. So if somebody were to log into their sub account, they're going to see ABC company. They're not going to see call tracking metrics. Any correspondence goes out, it's going to be hooked up to go through your domain. So any correspondence, anything that the customer might see is going to be your business. Call tracking metrics does not exist. To set that up under the agency settings right here, come over to, whoops, you come over to appearance. Logo and text, at least at the agency level, if you go into logo and text right here, you can put your logo up and it's going to be on your master account, and it's also going to trickle down to any one of the sub accounts that you have. You could go into each sub account then and put their logo up there, perfectly fine, not a problem at all. The other option for the full white labeling option, under domain settings right here, fill this out, submit it, and one of our engineers will be in touch with you in, I don't know, a couple days, tops. We'll reach out to you. As you can see right here, for the full white label, it's $99 to set it up, $49 a month to manage it. But again, call tracking metrics doesn't exist. Your customers can log on their sub accounts. It's your business. It's your call software. So it's a great option that you have at your disposal. Couple last things just to touch on. You have your sub accounts created. You're in this sub account right here, but wait a minute, you bought this tracking number and it needs to be in a different account. You don't have to release it. You don't even have to call our support team to move that number. It's as easy as being in your tracking numbers list. So under numbers, tracking numbers right here, all the tracking numbers live, click on all accounts right here. When you do that, this new column opens up under change account. Select that, and from the drop down, you pick, where do I want to send that phone number? Send it right here. We're going to make sure, hey, you sure you want to send it? Which tracking source do you want to tie it to? And do you want us to send any associated call data with it? We'll send it all over there. That number will leave here. The phone number ends up in that new sub account. And if there is any call data, it'll go right with them. No problem at all. And the last thing I want to touch on here, and this is a really great little secret a lot of people don't know about. Changing passwords can be a hassle because, sometimes you're expecting that email to come through with that password change link. Or, an email, people say, hey, I never got the email. Maybe it's in their spam folder. Maybe they filtered it to the trash. They just can't seem to find an email. If you are an agency administrator, you have the highest level to do anything you want in any account. You can come in and you can manually change somebody's password. And to do that is under settings, agency settings. You come down here to security. This is toggled off by default. And when that's toggled off, it looks just, where is that? Security. Like this. Toggle it on, save your changes, update security. What that does then is it opens up a password field in the user accounts. So with this open and saved, let's go take a quick look under settings, users. We're going to take a look at Nicole Turner too. Where is that? Oh, it's her email address. My apologies. Let me pull up a different account here. Oops. Oh, come on now. There we go. So what I want to show you here, my apologies, I changed a couple things in my account and I did not test it. So settings, agency settings, security, password security is on. So then if we come over here to our user accounts, I'm going to take a look at Darren Stevens right here. Click to reset password. Rather than just only having the option send password or send a welcome email, when you click on reset password, there are the password fields. You can manually enter their password here. It is a huge time saver, especially for the, let's call them technically challenged, who can't seem to figure out how to change a password, who can't seem to locate an email. This allows you to do it for them. It's a huge time saver. I suggest to anybody that does this feature, turn the toggle switch on, come over to your users, change their password, go back to your agency security settings, turn the toggle off. Security never takes a holiday. So we pretty much used up darn near close to the entire hour. I want to thank each and every one of you for coming to this webinar. You should be receiving a survey towards the, shortly after the webinar ends. If you would just take a minute to fill that out, the good, the bad, the ugly, we're always trying to improve this thing. There are always things that a customer might see that we don't see on, on the CTM side. So please send any thoughts and suggestions over here. I want to make this a good experience for every user going forward. On that note, I want to thank each and every one of you for coming to today's advanced webinar. I hope you learned something, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.